Hey, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Bobby. And together we're
The
the
DCOM
DCOM
Team.
Team.
The
Okay,
DCOM
that wasn't bad.
Team. Yeah, it was
Wasn't
pretty
bad.
good. We reviewed
Uh,
Disney Channel original movies from everyone's childhoods, as well as some of the new Disney Channel original movies in the never-ending catalog that Disney has to offer. So today is October 22nd, 11:45 p.m. And happy Halloween, everyone listening.
well, happy early Halloween,
Are you going to say
everyone.
happy Easter?
No, I was just gonna say happy Halloween, and then I cut myself off and I said, no, I'm gonna say happy early Halloween.
Ah,
That's
that's
what I did.
much smarter.
Yeah,
Much smarter.
because it is just the 22nd. It is about to be the 23rd in 15 minutes. And if I'm not correct, this and
If you're not correct, you're never correct. Oh, that was a good one. If I'm not correct, if you're not mistaken.
if I'm not mistaken, thank you, Dan. If I'm not mistaken, this is what happens when you go off script. You don't know what words to say. uh,
I think this is
uh,
the silly hour. We've hit the barrier.
oh man,
So it's gonna be a
yeah,
good
we're getting
episode.
there. Okay. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this particular episode will actually be out still before Halloween, right? Most of them will be out prior to Halloween.
Yeah, this will be on the Wednesday, the
Mhm.
27th. So yeah, and there are 111 Disney Channel original movies, and today we're talking about the first ever Disney Channel original movie, Under Wraps, starring Bill Faberbaki as the Mummy.
Well, okay. You must be super tired. We're talking about the new one, right?
Oh, I
We
forgot there
already
was a
did.
remake.
We already did the original.
Ah, that's such bad script writing by me.
Yeah.
But yes, you are right, my friend. Today we're talking about the 2021 remake Under Wraps, which is a remake of the first ever Disney Channel original movie. And this time stars actor and choreographer Phil Wright as the Mummy Herald.
There we go. This is in fact the 111th DCOM.
Yes, very much a jump from the first one. So thank you. And thanks for having my back on that one.
That is a crazy thought. That's a really interesting thought. No, seriously. Under Wraps. They just remade Under Wraps. We're doing both versions for this Halloween. And they happen to be, at the moment, they happen to be literally the first and the last DCOM.
Yes, as of right
That's
now.
crazy.
I'm
That's
sorry.
crazy.
I laughed there because I had no idea what you were gonna say, and I just thought you were like the way you said it felt like a human trying to prove that they're human. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I already forget what you said, but like that's what went through my mind when you said it. Just because I look at my script, it says whatever you want to say, and you're like, yes, that is correct.
Oh shit! I didn't even like. I was still riffing off of your previous line.
Okay, that's why
I
oh, that's
I
fucking
didn't
funny.
realize that. Thanks for getting me back on track with that one, my friend. I didn't realize that was a line. I forgot.
But before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that even though we talk about films that are meant for kids and for families, sometimes we will swear. That's okay, but just viewer discretion. If any little ones are watching, that we'll swear sometimes, but we'll try not to. Like we're not like talking to intentionally swear, but sometimes for comedy, it's funny. I think.
Yeah, you may hear the occasional shit piss or could happen. What was that?
That took me by surprise. I don't know if I've ever heard you swear.
Oh, what are you talking about? I
Probably.
swear all the time. But Daniel, that is referencing something very specific. It will all make sense here when I explain it to you.
Yeah, do you want to explain what just happened? But we're not going to keep it in because you just
Those are many apologies, but you have to understand. Um, those are George Carlin's 7 dirty words you can't say
Oh,
on television.
right.
So that was the joke. That was the reference there.
You see, I had to, whatever you want to say. So that, again, very much took me by surprise.
You know what you should do, Daniel?
What?
You should actually like bleep it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
And then
like
see my face, because that was like,
yes. You have to leave your reaction in there. Just it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, you gotta put that put that bleep in there. It's gonna because your reaction was so genuine. Oh God.
That was, I wouldn't say it scared me, but I was like, thank you, George Carlin, for that moment.
Yes.
I think,
Oh God.
if you don't mind, I'm gonna go get some water real quick. Is that okay? Before we
I need a
start?
moment.
You entertain the fans here, and I'll decide what I want to leave in.
Oh God. I'm gonna take a breath.
Cry. Hello, my friend. You can't say piss on TV?
I think that routine is like from the 70s, possibly.
Yeah.
So
80s,
I think
70s.
it's like really outdated now. It's not actually really true.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the time.
Thank you for that. That was a really good moment. I think that'll make the season highlights. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think we could really make that something that was great at the time. I think I could really make it funny with the beeps, I think, and just my shock. Amazing. Just 7 beeps, just 7. Your delivery was really good on it.
Thank you.
It's always a good episode when we start with the giggles, you know?
Oh gosh. Let me get through this, Lord.
So, well, I have a couple.
Okay.
I have a couple prep questions for the remake here.
Oh yeah, let's hear them.
I'd like to get your stance on remakes. Like, like, do you like remakes? Do you are you against them?
Oh, that's a really loaded question.
It is.
It is a very loaded question. Because my instinct is to say, as a general rule, no, I do not like remakes.
Okay.
But then, of course, I can think of some exceptions.
The thing 1982 is a remake, isn't it? So they've been,
well,
yeah, maybe just remakes of like shot for shot remakes almost.
Well, I guess, and there actually probably are movies that I've seen that I enjoyed that I had no idea were remakes. So I think the more time that passes is probably a pretty good rule.
Yeah.
You know, but then there are movies that like should just absolutely never be remade ever. You know, I'm thinking about like the Casablancas and the Citizen Kanes.
Back to the Future, Jaws.
Well, you know what? I agree with you 100%. I fear those movies eventually will be remade. I think that
we're not alive to see it.
I don't want to be there for that, but I do see I've actually, before Jaws even, I can see Back to the Future being redone. I can see that happening.
Yeah, as long as it's not like made as like a movie musical, because that would just be this. Imagine. We all know what happened with the TV Grease, right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Or
Daniel,
TV Dirty Dancing was way worse.
did you know that I brace yourself? There is indeed a Back to the Future Broadway musical.
Is there?
Yeah, not kidding.
Did like one person go to see it?
I don't know who it was. At least one person went, probably.
And it was on Broadway.
Even is on Broadway.
Currently.
Yeah.
Oh, my day is ruined.
I know I'm sorry to get into this, but interesting though. It says the musical is a stage musical with music and lyrics by Alan Silvestri, who also did the original soundtrack.
Oh, okay. That makes it a little bit better.
And the book by Robert Zemeckis, who is the original director. So, I mean, if those two guys wanted to go ahead and do that, then okay. I still think it is a disgusting idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to kind of circle back, like remakes are definitely a tough one. And as probably as a general rule, I would say no.
You don't like them in general.
Don't like the remakes. No.
Yeah, like there's like I'm not as bullish in like the not as bullish like the fact that like I don't like them. Like because like there's a bunch I like American remakes of foreign films usually can be okay. Like Let Me In was a great remake of Let the Right One
In.
Yeah, I really like obviously The Departed is a great remake. Because but that's for American audiences like that feels like the original, right? But like for when it comes to horror remakes, Fright Night with 2011 Fright Night I thought was really good. I really like the 2013 Evil Dead. But
yeah,
like,
there's probably some movies like that I don't care.
Yeah, I really like the Friday the 13th remake, the 2009 one. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I haven't seen that actually.
It's fun.
Yeah, but I think that's like even like I guess it really depends what movie it is. That's what it comes down to for me is like how good is the movie that you're remaking? How special is it to me?
Yeah.
And then I have an answer.
I know that for you, like I have much more nostalgia with DCOMs in general. Like, and for you, like High School Musical was your DCOM. So like, how did you feel about them making a TV show out of it? Like, have you watched any of it?
The High School Musical TV show?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
No, did you know about it?
I did, yeah. High School Musical, the musical.
Did you roll your eyes when you heard about it?
No, you know what? To be honest, I think I'm okay with it. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I can't really talk about it that much. But I'm okay with it, and okay. I think I was a little bit like confused and turned off at first by the idea, like the fact that it's the students at a school at which the movie High School Musical was filmed, and they in turn are doing their own musical.
That's really meta, but that seems really convoluted.
It's very meta, yeah. So, and that's why it's called like High School Musical musical.
Oh.
Yeah, but I think I would watch it. It's not at the top of my list of things to see though.
Okay.
But yeah,
it's kind of funny that we're talking about like Disney remakes when like they're the king of remaking things. Like The Lion King was bad.
Oh god.
Dumbo was bad. I liked the 2017 Beauty and the Beast. I thought 2016 Jungle Book was great. Um, Mulan wasn't bad. Mulan was fine.
I haven't seen Mulan.
Yeah, but have you seen did you see the Jungle Book or
Um,
Beauty and the Beast?
I'm pretty sure I saw the Jungle Book. I didn't see Beauty and the Beast. I'm not crazy about what Disney's doing there.
No.
Even the Jungle Book, to be honest, I wasn't like, it was okay. But
See,
it's not the
sorry.
same.
See, for me, it's almost like my for some reason my memory, I don't remember many movies like Disney classics from when I was a kid. So I can
Mm,
watch them with a disconnect. I can almost watch it like a kid today watching it for the first
mm,
time. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But like if they like did like a live action version of like Emperor's New Groove, like that would be like okay, because that's one movie from my childhood I know beat for beat. Or like
Yeah.
Aladdin.
So I definitely I definitely watched a lot of Disney classics when I was a kid.
Mhm.
So but there are some, again, it depends on how I feel about the movie. And the thing with Disney too, we're talking about Disney original animated films. A lot of them are based on existing um, public um,
Domain.
public domain stuff, fairy
Uh,
tales, and
yeah.
um, so um, that's why you have like a million versions of Cinderella, and some Snow White offshoots, the Huntsman, and but it just depends on the movie. Like Lady and the Tramp, as an example, right? They made that a live action version on Disney Plus. I don't care. I don't know if
Garbage.
it's good or not. I
It
have no
wasn't.
idea.
I think I gave it like a 5 out of 10. Very, very down the middle. Just
Okay.
does no reason for you to exist.
Yeah,
To put it bluntly,
I just don't even care. I just don't even care about that one.
I don't
101
care.
Dalmatians. I have to say 101 Dalmatians. When the Jeff Daniels version
Yeah,
came
Glenn
out,
Close, Glenn Close as Gilbert
yeah,
Carell.
that was like more of a novelty then, to have like a live action version of a classic animated
That's
film.
true.
And I think that
That
one landed for me, especially with Glenn Close in it.
that creeped me out when I was a kid,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. She's a little scary.
Yeah.
And then just to end, Aladdin is like so dear to my heart, so near and dear to my heart. Um, that if I had a time machine and I could find a way to stop them from doing that remake, I would,
I think
because I think it's disgusting.
it's kind of funny. I think on one of the episodes we recorded last year, I think I referred to the genie first as Will Smith instead of Robert Williams, and like I don't think you've forgiven me since. I just brought it back up. Oh,
Yeah, shouldn't have reminded me.
your eyes widened.
Yeah.
Now turning one thing I had noted down here, just in my personal anecdote, like with with all like of course we're talking about remakes because Under Wraps is a remake of the 1997 version. And like for me, like I like Under Wraps, but it's not as dear to me as something like Halloween Town. Like if
Hmm.
anyone even the fourth Halloween Town without sit with sorry, one second here. Kimberly J. Brown is the one who plays the original Marnie in the first
Hmm.
three Halloween Towns. She's not in the fourth one. And the fourth one in itself almost feels like a remake, just with Debbie Reynolds and the mom was the only and the brother is the only like returning cast. So it's like, but like if anyone tried to like replicate it now, it'd be like, no. Like you, I would fight people to the death to like no, I don't think they like. I feel like Under Wraps can be remade because it's not as dear to people of our generation, right? I mean, obviously
Hmm.
Disney can remake anything they want to, but
Yeah.
like Halloween Town, even the Scream team, like Halloween Town's very dear to me. Like I don't know if they would remake the Scream team, and if they ever remake the Scream team, I would like to write it, please. Like I've honestly, I've thought like in the past, like I remember when I was younger, maybe like five set before script writing, like 7 years ago, I was watching the movie, like writing down like the like I wanted to adapt the screenplay like into like a more adult version because like I like the story so much. I've always liked the character of like Zachariah Cole. Little detour, but like if it has ever remade, like let me do it. Let an
Yeah.
unknown do it. Give me a chance.
And that, I mean, that's an interesting, yeah, give Daniel a chance, let him write a movie. And I think it's an interesting thought that if I thought long enough about it, which I do tend to do on this podcast, I would probably think of a movie that I actually would want to remake specifically because I would want to see it done better. I would want to try and do it,
Take us
like do
around
the
the
better
block.
version of it, you know? That's it. Done my
Oh,
point. Done there.
now that was a short straight. That was a short straight.
Yeah.
um,
Shortcut.
what were
Okay,
you
can
gonna
I
ask?
just add one more thing because it's related
Yeah,
and like we'll probably get into it more in our discussion here, but like that's my big question for you is at the end of the day, would you have remade this movie? Is this something that
like myself or just
excites
in
you?
general.
Well, or no, yeah. Would you? Did you? Not yourself. Like when you knew they were remaking Under Wraps, were you like, "Ooh, oh, I can't wait to see that," or were you like, "I don't know about that"?
It's actually
Like, what was your instinct there?
it's actually kind of funny because I did not know they were remaking it until the PR person was like, "Hey, do you want to talk with Phil Wright? Because they've remade Under Wraps." And I was like, I think that was like the excitement. It was like, oh, like that's a cool opportunity because we're bringing back the DCOM team.
Yeah.
Like I think the connection was more like
Okay.
that's a cool opportunity. But if I was just a fan, just like I feel like I'm excited because we get more content. We get to talk about it, we get to relive it,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, right? But like,
Mm-hmm.
see something. If I could just take a detour, something like 2019 Kim Possible, I did not like. I love the directors of that film because they made a movie called Freeze, which I adore. But like
Mm-hmm.
that film, it's like a corporate job for them, a corporate gig almost, like where it just
Yeah.
doesn't feel like their handprints. I
Yeah.
did not like that one. But with like 2021 Under Wraps, like I would. So at the end of the interview, I said like, "Oh yeah, I enjoyed it." Like, and I did enjoy it. Like, I wasn't lying to him or anything. But to keep in mind, I wrote down in my notes here, according to my letterbox, the last time I had watched the original Under Wraps was September 24th, 2019. Um, and even then, I don't think I loved it as much as when I was a kid. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like it's still a good movie. Like, it's still like a 6 out of 10, right? But like, so to me, I don't think the remake was far off because it's almost beat for beat. But like when I said like I enjoyed it, I think it was because I hadn't watched the original for so long. So when you watch the
Mm-hmm.
remake and then you go back to the original, I kind of realized like, okay, there wasn't this magic in the remake. Like so, like I because I it was a
Yeah.
weird thing where I watched the remake in early October. I watched the original film probably on when did we record that episode? On the 7th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The original episode on the 7th. So I watched the
Yeah.
original early October and then I went back to the remake on the 21st of October. And
Okay.
it's the I'll say this. It's the movie where it's beat for beat. Um I don't mind that it exists. I don't think I'm like if it was Halloween Town, I would be angry that it would exist because it's pretty much a, we'll get into that, but it's like a beat for beat remake with some
Mm-hmm.
fundamental changes that some I like, some are like, okay, that's fine. Um, there's just not as much
Mm.
magic. Um,
Yeah.
and it's hard. And I
It's
think I enjoyed the remake, like, because for
mm-hmm.
me, I like the original Under Wraps. I'm not the world's biggest fan of Under Wraps. I think I like it. But so to me, there's not a big fall off with the
Yeah.
remake. So it's
Yeah.
not particularly beloved to me, the original. So,
Okay.
but the one thing that kind of bugs me just
Mm-hmm.
about just about how Disney kind of approached it. And the mouse might come after us, where I think it's a fair criticism though, because the remake is on Disney Plus. The remake premiered on Disney Channel on October 1st. It was added to Disney Plus October 8th. And I'm pretty sure that the original Under Wraps was on Disney Plus either last year or earlier this year. And it seems to me that Disney is orchestrating a thing where the original is not on Disney Plus, and they're kind of forcing old fans and new fans to watch the new version. So there is a disconnect. So you can't rewatch the original and then watch the remake. So you can't do that unless you go under your way to find the original. And so I don't know if it's to avoid comparisons, but it's just, I don't know. To me, that's kind of like, I'd much rather watch the original. And the one thought that escaped me, just the fact that I watched this twice now, I will say that I do not mind this remake. I generally enjoyed it. Like, I generally didn't find it offensive. I found it very inoffensive. But to say that every Halloween I would rather watch the I'm just trying to say that I would watch the 1997 Under Wraps every year if given the choice. If you had to, but I would not want to. But the remake is not going to become a staple in my home where I want to watch it every year. I don't think I want to watch it again, but I don't mind it terribly. Sorry, long-winded way to get at it. No, so I don't know if you had thoughts about Disney Plus, that only being the only version on. I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
I don't know if I feel strongly about that. I think you said some interesting things there. I mean, I think we'll get into it a little bit later. Like I'd like to get into some more details about some of the nitty-gritty differences.
Yeah.
But I can at least see how, like, right now this is a new movie for them. It just came out. They want people to see that right now.
Yeah.
And so there may come a time in the future where they decide, hey, you know what, like, we got a lot more views on the original. Let's put that one back up there. And maybe they just don't want two versions, right? Like when people go and search Under Wraps and there's two that pop up, they're like, well, which one?
Confusing. Yeah.
Maybe it's just
but it's also because like, if you were given the two options, you're going for the 1997 one. Like, why the fuck would you watch the remake? Sorry, Disney, but why would we?
I think you just like I think spoke some hard truth there.
Don't come after me, Disney. I'm just a guy.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, Daniel is not going to come after you like Scarlett. Don't worry.
Yeah, no. I want to ask, just like, to me, I find out of like the original Universal monsters, like Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, and Invisible Man, even like the Mummy doesn't. Like, there are not a lot of Mummy movies besides like Brendan Fraser. So like, do you like Mummy movies? Like, do you have any favorites?
I am kind of a fan of the Mummy with Brendan Fraser, actually. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right that there's not a lot to choose from, but like, that's a classic in my mind.
I know Joey and Harrison like, would agree.
Yeah, and that's peak Brendan Fraser, right? Like that's like where it's at. I also love the ride at Universal Studios.
Oh, there's a ride.
Still themed to Brendan Fraser's Mummy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I just, there's all kinds of wholesome, wonderful goodness in that movie. So
okay. Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of Mummy movies to choose from for that, other than Under Wraps.
Well, and if I may say so, the original Under Wraps, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice, especially if you got kids. You're looking for a good Mummy movie? Go check that one out.
Yeah, and fans, you get to check out the remake, 2021 remake on Disney Plus. So I'll help you find the original. It's the remake. It's a good joke. It's a great joke, even. But
well, yeah, well, and I think we'll get into that. I think we'll get
yeah,
into that a little bit more
okay.
because I have a few comments on that.
Okay, so I'll get into the synopsis and then we'll get
Okay.
started here. Pull up a chair, Bobby, because this is
Okay.
not that long.
I'm gonna.
So in 1997, a mummy named Harold was the first lovable character to star in a Disney Channel original movie, played by Bill Farquhar. He met three friends named Marshall, Amy, and Gilbert. And now, in 2021, he's revived again, but this time in a remake of the same name, Under Wraps. In the small town of Walgrove, Marshall loves horror films and specifically a franchise called Wardhead. But Gilbert is afraid of his own shadow and makes them leave early so Marshall doesn't get to find out what happens, even though he should know by the fourth film how every single one of these movies ends. On a school field trip, they meet the new girl in town named Amy, a confident go-getter who lives with her father and another father who she calls Step Dave. She's an aspiring investigative journalist, but doesn't think there's a single story in a small town like this one. That's where she's wrong, as we're treated to a strong exposition dump about a mummy and her high priest who couldn't be together in life, but were together in death, like a good old-fashioned Egyptian Romeo and Juliet. One guy asks if the mummy could come back and eat their brains, and the museum curator says, "Ha, only in horror movies, and thankfully we're not in one." Wink, wink. Anyway, when Gilbert reports he thinks he saw his neighbor, Mr. Kubat, moving a sarcophagus into his home, she convinces them to check it out, where they find the mummy Harold in the basement and he's brought to life by the moonlight hitting his amulet. Yada, yada, yada. The film follows a very similar structure to the original film from there, almost beat for beat, save for a few exceptions, where they eventually have to get him back into his coffin before midnight on Halloween, as the three friends learn a bit more about the importance of friendship. And that's a rewrap.
Ha ha. Ha ha ha.
Any jumping points you saw there?
I think there's one jumping off point that is worth starting with for me, just because I feel like it's more of a positive. We'll get the positive out of the way. There was indeed some exposition, the story about the princess and the high priest, as they're doing the museum tour. Now, this is before they discover the mummy, before they know anything yet. They're just doing a museum tour. That's it, and we're learning about these mummies. And I actually kind of like how they set that story up early in the movie, because it was sort of maybe one thing that was a bit of an afterthought in the original. You don't realize what the relationship is until a little, like, much later in the movie.
Yeah, it's just like differently structured, right? With how they tell us the information.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they laid the ground. The stakes is what they were doing. They were laying out part of the stakes there early on in the movie. It's like, okay, there's a mummy, they're in love, there's going to be something about being together or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate that they set that up in the beginning there.
And I did you notice that in the original movie, they didn't show the amulet till later, but in this one, like, it's there from the very beginning, like when it's like around very prominently around Harold's neck at the very beginning. Yeah, because like in the original, it's tucked under the wraps. It's under wraps, you could say. Sorry.
So many of these. I actually can't remember how the mummy came to life in the original.
I think it hit its hand. I think it hit its hand, and I think that's one thing in the remake, that it makes the mythology a bit more clear, how he came back to life.
That it was the amulet. Yeah. Okay.
Because it's the amulet that gives him life. Like in that one scene where Kubat rips it off his neck, right? I mean, that kind of sacrifices, like how in the original Harold kind of sacrificed himself for his friends. But here it's just, hey, give me that amulet. You're dead for a second now.
Yeah, that was something that was new. That was definitely something that was different. Yeah. But how did the mummy get exposed to moonlight in the first one? I can't remember what happened. Like, did they even see the mummy at all? Like
in the basement?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when Gilbert and them were trying to get into the thing, and then Gilbert went head over heels, like, and I think the cabinet knocked over the sarcophagus. It Rube Goldberg machine got Harold out of his sarcophagus, and then the moonlight just shone on him. Is that the right verb, adjective, whatever that would be called?
Sean? Wait, is it Sean?
Shone, like Shone. Would that be the right past tense of shine?
I think it's shine.
It shined, maybe.
Oh no, it is Sean works. Yeah,
yes.
it's Shon.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know why I'm going off on that, but like, I just actually can't remember what happened in the first one now in the basement. Well, that's okay.
That's what Disney wants you to do. They want you to forget about the original so you can just focus on the remake.
It's working.
But no, see, that's the one thing I kind of enjoy about the remake, with the way where I feel like they work Amy more into the story. Because in the original film, Amy, her mom is the real estate agent. She's like, hey, Mr. Kubat died. He had some pretty cool shit in his basement. Do you guys want to go check it out? And they didn't know there was a mummy. But here, Amy is an aspiring investigative journalist, and she wants a story. And they say, oh, hey, there might have been a guy moving a sarcophagus into his home. And she's like, wow, let's go check that out. That's a story. That's my chance. And she's kind of Nancy Drew in this movie, because that's what drives them over to Kubat, who, interestingly, this time is a middle-aged man who does not fake his own death for tax evasion purposes.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about this Kubat. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
Yeah, I like the original one a lot better. I would also just want to add, like, I don't know specifically for this particular movie, this particular story. I don't know how necessary it was to make her like an aspiring journalist coming from out of town. Like, I think it was perfectly fine for the three of them to already be friends. Like, they're just three friends.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt like just a thing, just for the sake of doing it. You know, it didn't really like add anything in my mind from, you know, compared to the original. But anyway, yeah, Kubat, I just enjoyed the Kubat in the first one more.
Okay, but I remember you not liking the twist about the tax evasion. So did you like it in the terms of structure, how this one is a more straightforward villain?
The actor, the performance.
Let's call him out. I'm gonna get the cast list here.
Yeah.
And I'll just go through that quickly.
Yeah, and not so much the tax evasion.
So this one is directed by a guy called Alex Sam. Phil Wright, who I talked with, plays Harold the Mummy. Jordana Largy plays Diane, who is Marshall's mom. Christian J. Simon plays Gilbert. Malachi Barton plays Marshall. Melanie Brooke plays Buzzy, who owns the like horror shop and is gender swapped her for this one. And Sophia Hammonds plays Amy, and then Brent State, who plays Mr. Kubat, who you do not like. And then a guy called Jamie M. Kalika, who plays Ted, the kind of stepdad that Marshall does not like.
Right.
He's super nice, but he just doesn't like him for some reason.
Yeah, there was more of him in this one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I noticed.
Yeah, there was more like, of Ted.
That's kind of what I noticed with the first one. Ted was kind of in passing, maybe because he was played by both Harold and Fagerbaki, but like for the remake, I felt like it was trying to make Ted more the father figure than Harold the Mummy. So for me, it was almost a worse ratio where the relationship between Harold the Mummy and Marshall didn't feel as special.
Yeah.
And Marshall almost seemed a bit more unlikable because he was more adamant that, like, no, I don't like Ted. He's so nice. I don't know if you got that sense too.
Yeah. I actually didn't think in the original that the arc with him sort of coming around to warming up to his stepdad or to Ted, I didn't think that was like very solid It was just it was there. It is what it is. You know, you have to have a little bit of a character arc for them.
Yeah.
That didn't bother me though. Like we didn't really need much of that. And the mummy very much was more of a father figure for him in that movie. You know, which worked. Uh, um, I think maybe they probably felt like there really wasn't much Ted in the first one, and that it just made sense to like try and beef that story up a little bit, try and strengthen that arc. And so I can see why they would have wanted to try to do that. But the way the mummy was portrayed also didn't necessarily sync up very well with that.
I'm sorry,
Because
my brain stopped. What do you mean?
so because the mummy wasn't so much of like a father figure in the remake. Um, he was just kind of like one of them, like a sort of a goofy friend, you know.
Yeah, I can.
Not so much
Yeah,
like a father figure.
yeah. I agree. See. I actually a really good point because I couldn't really put my finger on it, but like it feels like in the original, it felt like Marshall was kind of greedy, and he was like, "No, Harold is mine alone,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys are
Mm-hmm.
just along with me for the ride." But here, I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was more like a group effort, like a friend group almost, right? And like
Yeah.
and to that point, I mean, we'll skip ahead to the end, but I thought like the ending of the film when they were saying goodbye to Harold was way less awkwardly staged in the remake. Because in the original, it was kind of Marshall was right beside him. The others were very far in the background. Like, okay, bye, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to meet you, I guess. But
Yeah.
here it actually feels like well rounded, where they're actually wrapping up the character arcs, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like I didn't think anything exciting could happen in this small town, but I
Yeah.
found a story with you. Thank you, kind of thing. And it's just like I thought that was cool. And then like, hey, you're the least scariest guy I've ever known. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
that kind of defined Gilbert. And then at the same time, though, Marshall's like, oh, I thought it would always be cool to meet a real life monster. And I felt like that was like the least impactful of the three, like the
Mm-hmm.
goodbye. So I just felt
Yeah.
like that was like just changing that kind of dynamic. That was kind of the trade off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That was a big trade-off because you're right. That's like um not that important. Like I
Yeah.
thought I would never made a real life monster. Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah. And then he's like about to say something else. And then he kind of starts to get emotional, which is like, that might get some tears out of kids, but not me, not even close on this one, to be honest.
Yeah, like see, I liked, even though I thought the arc was still felt a little bit weak in the first one. I know I'm repeating myself, but at least like I really liked how he finally warmed up to Ted because he could see what true love was. He said he saw two people in love, and that had
Yeah.
a real impact on him. And it even made him think about how he felt about
His
his
lady
friend.
friend. Yeah.
Yeah, his lady friend. Um,
Yeah, that's a good point.
and so I don't know. I don't even in the remake. I don't even know how he got there. Like
Yeah. And
how he actually got there with Ted. I don't.
see, I think just to your point, with the trade-off of Ted being a more integral part here in the remake, even though it was more subtle in the original, it felt like it made more sense how he got to that conclusion. But here it's like, okay, let's make
Mm-hmm.
him a bigger part, but kind of forget how he got to that conclusion. And I think
Yeah,
it is very much because like Harold brings his
exactly.
lady friend back before they take the long dirt nap or long sarcophagus nap, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
to quote Robert Williams on Broadway, I'm
Yeah,
getting ready for my long dirt nap. Oh, okay, that's a lot darker now that he's gone. Uh,
that is. And I don't.
I
I
don't
don't
think that
think.
was. I didn't mean that as an offensive thing. That was just kind of like a dark, like
No, no, of
realization in
course.
my head, Like,
Yes. Yeah. No, you didn't
Jesus.
intend that.
Yeah, but either way, yeah. The trade-off of more impactful in the remake, but makes less sense how we got to that conclusion
Hmm.
with Ted.
And can we potentially talk about the portrayal of the mummy
Sure, yeah.
here? This isn't the Phil issue, by the way. This is not like a Phil problem. Phil was a great mummy. But they were two different mummies,
Yes,
and
between
they
him and
worked.
Fogger Bhakti, right?
Yes, and they worked in different ways, which we've already talked about. This mummy, and in fact this movie, I think really just went for a lot more silliness, and when they looking for laughs, right, going after the kids, knowing they'll get some laughs, like easy kind of
Yeah.
silly kid laughs. That's what it felt like they were going more for in this one, like with the whole he was
Yeah, with
the mummy is Harold is much more expressive, being scared of things, um, more expressive, not as stiff, you could say, which actually I think he talked about in the interview, how like I think his mummy. Um,
yeah, which I thought was interesting because like I didn't see, like I hadn't watched the original for so long, so I wasn't really sure what he was talking about, how he was less like rigid. But like when I went back to the remake, I was like, oh yeah, I can see, because he feels like he can actually like really move around. Like they did like a good job with the makeup, but like they did like do it too tight, right?
yeah, and so this Harold like was dancing, right? There's like this whole dance scene.
Yeah.
So there was a lot more physical comedy from the mummy. So it just like really, really two different takes. And I think that um, eh, it's funny because probably the most silly moment in both movies actually comes from the first movie, when the mummy like goes to the bathroom.
Did he go to the bathroom in the remake?
He did not. He didn't. No, that was not in the remake at all. And that's probably the most glaring difference of all, is that
Yeah.
the first movie, I'll try not to drag this on here, but the original really, really hooked you in the first 20 minutes or so. I loved how they much more naturally made their way to the house, first of all. I felt like that was much more natural in the first movie, when he kind of had this throwaway comment about being his paper boy and not being paid.
Right.
And they had already suggested, right, that he what's the scared kid's name again?
Gilbert?
Gilbert, thank you. Like Gilbert is kind of afraid, and the other guy is more bold. I don't remember names, by the way. I'm really bad with names.
Gilbert's the scaredy cat. Marshall is the
Marshall.
yeah.
Gilbert and Marshall. She's like, well, wait a minute. No, we have to get your money. Let's go. Let's go get your money. Like, this is ridiculous. It just felt natural. Like, it felt like, yes, that could happen. And Marshall very well could have coaxed him to go over to the house. And then the fact that we thought that
Kubat, Mr.
Kubat
Kubat.
died,
Yeah.
right? You have this mystery of like, what did he do? What was he doing? This empty house. And then all leading up to the mummy appearing. And then you have this great moment where he stops, walks into the bathroom, takes a leak, and you're like, okay, all right, now we know what's happening now in this movie. But the setup, everything leading up to that was just awesome.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't there in the remake.
See, like I feel like that's more 90s humor. And I thought that was kind of like I think that's an interesting thing, is it's like a 90s, very 90s humor. And then like like I think they write the kids movies very differently than we do today. Like I know we've grown up, we might see them differently. I don't think I can relate to the kids as much because obviously I'm not a kid, but so I thought that was an interesting
But
thing.
but all you have to do is watch these two movies and see the differences.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thing. Like, yes, we grow up, but at the same time, I've never seen either of these movies before. I watched them both, a week apart or whatever.
And you watched
And
the
I've
original
seen
before the remake, right?
the original first, yeah.
Right. I think the very interesting thing for me was that I enjoyed watching the remake more the first time,
Mm-hmm.
mostly in the way that I hadn't watched the original for 2 years, but
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, oh, yay, this isn't bad. Like I think it was all I think I was almost watching it with like nostalgic goggles on, where it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I remember this moment from the original with like the wart head, even though this version of the wart head looked way too cartoonish,
Yeah.
looked way too green, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
scary. He looked like a big booger.
Yeah.
Booger. Why did I say booger like that? Booger. Booger. How do you say
Booger.
booger? Booger?
Booger?
He
Yeah,
did.
Booger.
He looked like snot, to be honest. But so
Yeah, he does.
you just I watched the remake with that, not having watched the original for a couple years, but
Mm-hmm.
then I watched the original, and I remember the Austin Powers esque peeing scene. I remember that brilliant, brilliant comedy going to the hospital and getting they mistake him for a burn victim. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember Leonard, the weird little neighborhood kid
Yeah.
who can't read and remembers that the van was yellow. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not in the remake. Cause and then
Yeah.
and then I watched the remake again and I'm like, oh, he didn't take a piss. He didn't take a big piss that he's been holding in for 4,000 years.
Yeah.
Instead of going to the hospital, he gets dragged behind a bus.
Yeah.
And
And
then
magically winds up at the museum.
Ex Machina Museum. And then they write out Leonard by having Ted give that information to them.
Yeah.
And I thought of you when I noticed Leonard wasn't in the remake. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Bobby's gonna miss him.
He was just hilarious.
He really was.
He was hilarious. Just talking about character, what did you think of this version of Gilbert?
To be honest, I feel like I like. Okay, I'll talk about them compared to the original actors. I liked for Marshall. I liked Malachi Barton in this movie because I don't think Mario Yadida as the original Marshall was that great. He hasn't done anything since. I don't really have any emotional attachment to him in other films. In the original, I prefer Clara Bryant as Amy because I liked her in True Confessions. I feel like she's an actress I remember from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Wiley as the original Gilbert. Um, Much like Kimberly J. Brown as Marnie, Adam Wiley is my Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
And I obviously you can't be Adam Wiley again. What's the kid who plays Gilbert? I can't remember his name. I brought it up. Christian J. Slater, I think it is. Christian J. Simon as Gilbert. I think he's fine. He does fine for a kid actor. I think he embodies Gilbert. I thought the character was a bit weirder this time, like with the whole pink-eyed panda wanting to get him, and then the obsession with the ring toss, and that's kind of the quirkiness replacing. That's the
The
quirkiness for
doll.
the quirkiness replacing the mom characterizing him, being like, "Hey, my
Yeah.
mom's not weird, but you're weird
Yeah.
for thinking she's weird."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
what to
Go.
say about Gilbert.
I don't mind. I don't mind saying here that I feel like this Gilbert, the character was just too generic. It was like a really generic Disney Nickelodeon nerdy goofy character,
Yeah,
right? And I And I just feel like they tried to hit a couple of the notes, like that he was a scaredy cat, but that he also like wanted the pink-eyed panda,
Like the
and
original
had some
Gerb,
weirdness going on.
sorry, like the
Mm-hmm.
original Gilbert was like more unique, right? And like I didn't feel like he was this standard stereotype. I thought he felt like his
Well,
own person.
yeah. So here's what's really important, I think, about the original Gilbert. His character was, there was a very clear contrast between his being a scaredy cat, being afraid of everything, not being adventurous at all, very conservative, um, up against the fact that his mom had like a really weird doll thing, and he didn't think that was weird at all.
Yeah.
That's the only weird thing they needed for him, and it was great. It like stood out in contrast to everything else that we see from him, and it
Yeah.
was really funny. It was really funny to have that. Now the contrast also worked because the original Gilbert, this is my main beef, he was consistently a scaredy cat. His character was very consistent. And I feel like Gilbert in the new one was all over the map. It really was all over the map. And you throw up any random scene and it'd be like, is he a scaredy cat, or is he just a klutz, or is he a nerd, or like what is he? I don't know what he is.
So like, do you think he only was
Example.
made a scaredy cat when it was most convenient for the story?
Well, they almost like only like paid homage to the fact that Gilbert was supposed to be a scaredy cat.
Okay.
In the first one, I'll try and give you I'll give you a very clear example here that I think
Okay.
illustrates the point.
Sounds good.
In the first one, Gilbert is just, he's terrified to go into the basement. He very reluctantly is allowed to be lowered backwards through the window to try and spot whatever he can. And then of course he drops his glasses. And then they're out of there. In the remake, Gilbert, we're told, is a scaredy cat, but then in the basement he proceeds to just pull the tarp off a sarcophagus and says, I wonder what's in there, and opens it.
Yeah, it's like
the
if I can,
Gilbert, scaredy cat Gilbert would not do that. And that was like such a lazy, stupid way to get the mummy out of the coffin. And so out of character for Gilbert. Like the original Gilbert wouldn't have done that at all.
because he literally says, "Oh, I hope the mummy's not in here." Oh no, it is. Yeah, because that's a good
just
point.
that was like possibly the worst moment for me in that movie. And so I actually did not think that he was consistently afraid. He was not believable as a scaredy cat because he did stupid things like that. And there were only two moments that stand out to me where he's afraid, and that's like in the beginning when he leaves the movie, and then in the end when he backs out.
And then he
has this little internal dialogue
with the owl,
with himself, with the owl. Yeah, with the owl.
With the help of the owl.
Yeah. And so I just feel like I didn't buy him as a scaredy cat in the remake.
When he goes up to Kubat's house, doesn't he almost seem to go up on his own accord without much pushing? Like, why does he even go up onto his porch?
Well, not only that, but he
can't remember.
Improvises and comes up with this thing about like selling tickets for the Halloween festival.
Want to take a part in a haunted house? I'm sure you'd fit right in, he says.
Yeah. So the original Gilbert would not, like, he would freeze up.
Yeah.
Probably. and not say anything, and he would just be terrified. He'd probably piss his pants. And so yeah, it just like that whole like fact about him being a scaredy cat just did not hold for me. It was not believable.
I didn't think as deeply about you as that. I didn't think about that as deeply as you did, is what I meant to say.
Yes.
Sentence structure does not exist at 12:59 a.m. at night, But yeah, I did not think about that as much as you did. So I think that is very interesting.
It bugged me. I mean, that is such like a crucial character trait. It's key to his character, and it was just so lacking.
So I wanted to, I don't like, you remember how in the original film, the guy was Bruce, the horror store owner, the Santa Claus from Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've gender swapped her into being Buzzy.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about that? Did you like her in this film? Or did you kind of just
generic? I could take her. I could take her leave her. I wasn't married to the original, but I think to one of my sort of earlier points about this being a little bit goofier, I think that goofier / like almost more childish, almost like they were taking the original and aiming for an even lower age bracket, just by like goofing it up a little bit more. So she fit in with the tone of the movie. She fit in with that version of Harold. She would have really stood out in the original and probably would not have worked. So like I think that I wasn't crazy about her character, but I think she like fit in.
That's an interesting point that you bring up, though, that like I feel like this movie is aimed at 10 to 11. The original feels more like 13, 14 maybe, just because like tonally I don't think you would have seen a mummy dance off in the original.
No,
and that's not trying to bash the remake in that way, because I feel like that's such a 2021 trope for the kids these days, that it's just like, oh, we like dancing, right? But if we would take that, but yeah, if I would have saw that in the 1997 version, as a kid I probably would have liked it, but not now.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But it fits for here, I think.
Yeah, like there was just enough in the original, right? Because he did dance at the Halloween dance with like a teacher or something, or somebody's mom.
Yeah, but that whole bit was more
not even close to what it was like in the new one.
But it also makes sense because they cast the choreographer / actor as the mummy with Phil, and
fair enough.
But this time it felt more like White Chicks, where it's just like, let's have a whole dance off.
Yeah.
Like with what you were talking about with Phil as the mummy and him being more physical, that whole bit with him getting the honey remote control stuck on his hand, and then the ex machina Roomba putting him outside and pushing him into the bus, that whole sequence, like, what did you think about that? And just if I can say, like, I kind of skimmed through the remake on the second watch. Like, I sometimes, if I'm short for time, if I just kind of want to get it over sooner I watch it at 2x speed, and I watch it at normal and then 2x speed, and it is hilarious watching him like wave around his arm, wave around his hand with the remote.
I mean, I think it would be funny watching that sped up for sure.
It really is.
And you know what? Like, it's just like I said earlier, like that, just straight up, they're just going for some more laughs.
Yeah.
It's just goofy physical comedy. It is what it is, you know. It wouldn't have worked in the original.
No.
And it does work in this one, and it's just because, you know, they strike a much different tone with it.
How long do you think the TV remote can actually stay up on the ceiling like it did? with that honey?
Well, that must have been some pretty thick honey, because I tell you what, I don't think it would have even stuck in the first place, even with honey. It's obviously just a gag for the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think swiping, like if you were to wipe or spoon a bunch of honey on the back of a TV remote and try and get it to stick to the ceiling, I don't think it would work. Unless you had like super thick, kind of crusty honey, you could maybe get it to work.
This is just
It would
unlocked.
fall.
This is just unlocked a memory for me. Did you at school? Did you ever take the paper towel, you wet it, put soap on it, and threw the paper towel up at the ceiling and see how long it would stick for? Like the giant, like it almost made like a giant spitball.
I've never done that before. No.
Okay, well, I guess
No.
I guess that's a mid 2000s school experience.
I think I've seen spitballs. I've seen people like stick spitballs to the ceiling and the walls.
If you were to, yeah, so if, like any kids watching, any kids listening, or anyone who remembers, you would take like Kleenex or paper towel, you would wet it, you would put soap on it, you would scrunch it up, and it would stick to the ceiling.
How long would it stay up there?
Now that I can't remember.
Okay.
It's a decent amount, like probably not permanently, it'll probably come down, but like if it's a smaller one, it'll probably stay up there for longer. Like the heavier it would be, it would probably come down sooner though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really unlocked a memory for me. Now,
it's a fun one.
I know you had more complaints, but I had two core complaints here. And
let's hear it. I
they're not
probably agree with you.
Super big complaints, but okay, I'll just read what I have written here. I found there was a lot less tension at the ice cream factory, where Gilbert swings and ring tosses the amulet onto Harold instead of crashing through the door. No guns either, but I thought the stunts where Harold's beating up everyone with the giant ice cream cone was good fun. And I said it felt a bit more like a bad Scooby-Doo episode where it's so convenient that they run into their trap. So I don't know if you had anything to say to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's I sound like I'm being lazy when I say this, but like, I guess I guess it's just more over the top physical comedy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it's not so much that they're getting hit so hard. It's that he's like whacking them with a big ice cream cone, right? That's what's supposed to be kind of silly about it.
Yeah, I thought that was actually fun. I like those stunts. I liked how it looked, and like just punching the woman into the bricks. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, and actually, by the way, what the point that this raises for me, that this reminds me of, is the fact that Harold in this one had strength. Like, he could actually fight. He did fight. And in the first one, there was no indication that he could really defend himself at all, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it really changed anything. They were able to do a little bit more, like getting away from the bad guys, because Harold could like knock them out.
Sure.
But it was kind of a striking difference for me, though. I definitely noticed, like,
pun intended. Striking.
Yes, pun intended. Yes, I'm so clever. So clever am I.
So clever you are. This is a comedy thing, but it also leads into a complaint. I did kind of enjoy the bit with the Molotov and the candy when the random bully takes Marshall's food And Amy
Right.
is like, oh, there's maltol in it, but if you haven't
Yeah.
built up a tolerance, you're gonna have to poop. And it kind of works as like a placebo effect where he runs into the bathroom. And I thought that was
Mhm.
kind of a good bit.
Yeah.
So I don't
Um,
know. Yeah.
well, what? Okay, so what's your complaint?
My complaint is they had a bully for the sake of having a bully. That he's there for that
Yeah.
scene. He's there for a classroom scene where he just has a line that a background actor could say. And then at the
Yeah.
carnival dance, he's like, "Hey, you guys are kind of nerds. I like that." I don't know what he says. I'm just improvising here. Like, yeah, you guys are kind of stupid. You look at your
Mhm.
costumes, lol. And then Harold pushes him away, and then we never see or hear from him again. Like, why are you here
Yeah.
in this movie?
Yeah. Pretty stupid character to have there. My sense is that um it was just an opportunity for them to make a connection with Amy. And it was a way to show them sort of how tough she was,
Okay,
and how clever she was.
that's true.
Um, I think that's it. They were just sort of introducing her character, and sort of establishing how she could be useful to them.
Yeah, and
Otherwise, you didn't need a bully.
it was one of my favorite Amy moments, though. I think.
It was a good moment for Amy. It's a bit ridiculous. It's a bit over the top, um, but it fits with the rest of the silliness in the movie.
Yeah,
Um, and it does what it's supposed to do, but it's just like, um, more than anything, you are just left with this weird bully character after, though, that
mm-hmm.
does really feel very much like a floater. Um,
Probably like what he
and
did in the bathroom, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, an imaginary floater. Yeah, he didn't need to be there. I feel like I had the same feeling as you. Like when they introduced him, I'm like, in my head, I thought, they don't we don't need a bully.
Yeah,
We don't need a bully. This is Don't have a bully. That's dumb.
yeah. Like we have Mr. Kubat. Why do we need a bully?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He got back from the bathroom really quickly. Like I'm not sure why we was like, hey, were you? I'm not sure why I wasn't like, hey, were you screwing with me? Because I didn't have to go at all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's obviously not believable at all that
Yeah.
would happen, that would work. But in this case, just the silly factor is there. So
And it seems to me that my funny lines that I had written down were more complaints than
we're
anything.
just complaining. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
yeah, like it's not a I don't think it's a bad movie, but it's just not there's just not a lot of funny, memorable moments. But my last comment here is more grown than anything. And we were talking about that Ex Machina Scooby Doo thing where they run to the trap and then a skull kind of yeets them off screen and knocks them over. And then Marshall says, to do that required great skull.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that's all you need to know about this remake, to be honest.
um,
That's something a kid would.
I,
I
I
think
don't, I
I would
don't.
laugh at that if I was a kid, but it's just
Yeah, like,
at
yeah,
26, it makes my soul feel
exactly.
empty.
It just, yeah, it's a bit depressing.
So, do you have any closing thoughts on the 2021 remake of Under Wraps before we round
Mm,
out our?
I would just say it sounds like we're being hard on the remake, and
We
we're
are
definitely being critical. We're comparing it to an original because it's a remake, so that's always, the original is always going to have a leg up, I think.
for
Um,
sure,
and
especially when it comes to
I,
nostalgia.
yeah, especially when it comes to nostalgia. uh, even for me, and I hadn't seen it before, but like the original had some pop culture references that resonated with me because I was around as a teenager when that movie came out, and so I get it. And but the other thing that I would say, just to kind of sum up, kind of probably the main thrust of my not that, but just sort of one of the main points that I tried to make is that at the end of the day, this is just, it's not that I didn't like it, it's just that it was a little bit more childish and silly.
Okay.
And that's going to get a lot of laughs from the little ones, and that's great. But when it comes to me, watching movies at home, I just personally prefer the original. So I don't want to spend too much time, like, I don't actually mean to be too hard on the remake. The audience it was intended for, I'm sure, will appreciate it.
Yeah, you know what, I agree, just in the way that it is more childish. It feels like it's written for a younger age group than the 1997 version was originally written for. It's not that the remake is bad. I think I would give it a 5 out of 10. To be honest, if you put a gun to my head, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. I don't think it's an offensive movie. I would just rather watch the original film if it were on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
If we were given that option, I would rather watch the original, and I think that's why it's not on Disney Plus, to call you out, Disney. But I think that's what you're doing here. You want kind of show a bit of a weaker remake with updated Disney stars, the same exact story, which is almost beat for beat. It's fine, but give us OG's the original, please. And I think there's that pressure where I think they did fine pleasing me to an extent where I don't want to throw it off a bridge like I would have thrown the 2019 Kim Possible off a bridge.
Possible. Yeah.
And so that's points. I enjoyed this to an extent. Enjoyed it less when I actually had the original very fresh in my mind. Yeah. Which, yeah. And to sum it all up, it's a good effort. It's not an effort I would watch again next Halloween, or the Halloween after that, or the Halloween after that, or I'm just going to edit myself again, like just saying that for eternity. But
yeah,
if curiosity kills you, just check it out and then try to find the original again.
Let me put it this way: if I did have access to both of them, I would take my kids at like 4 or 5 or 6, and I would show them the remake. And then a few years later, when they're a little bit older, I would show them the original.
You know what? That's actually a great way to put it.
Yeah, that for me just sums it up.
It's different tastes, it's different age tastes, like differently tailored for age groups. And I think that is a very good way to put it, that Disney would not want to kill us for saying.
Yeah, totally.
So I really appreciate you spinning it in that way.
Yeah, no, of course.
So it is 1:30 a.m. We will get us out of here. I appreciate you spending 4 hours with me. This episode wasn't 4 hours, but we're doing Halloween programming. We had to get it done given our schedules. So
some of you will notice. I just want to say, Daniel, tonight we actually recorded an intro for 3 different episodes.
Yeah, that took a bit extra time.
And these have been recorded out of order. So you're going to see like 3 different outfits from me.
Same one for me.
And same for Daniel. Yeah. As you go through these. these 3 episodes, you're going to see mixing and matching, because this outfit will in fact be in the intro for all 3 of the first episodes.
Yes, all 3 that you would see on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Yes, and then this outfit will also appear in the Halloween introductory podcast at the end.
Yes,
partway through the episode,
for
it
the
appears.
second half.
Yeah, and good news is you get this outfit start to finish for the remake podcast.
I really wish you were a quick change artist to really confuse the audience if they're watching on YouTube.
Well, I think we have confused them
enough for
I think they will be confused when they see the accidental costume changes.
I think so. So I will end the podcast. So just to plug everything, we will send a link. We will put a link to your Amazon book that you take part in as a short story from Manitoba.
Yes, I have a short story. It's a couple of years out now, but it's a horror, it's a Halloween theme, so it's appropriate for right now.
And it's $6 on Amazon for Kindle.
I think so. I think it's definitely no more than $6.
Would it be free with a Kindle, or was that not an option?
No. I think it's only a Kindle version, actually.
And remind us what the title is
on Amazon. It is called Creatures in Canada, published by, Lichen Valley Press.
Okay. Like Lichen, like a werewolf, or spelled differently?
I guess so. Yeah, Lycan.
Interesting.
And it is a horror anthology.
Either way, you can find your book that you have Manitoba short story and called Canadian Creatures in Canada.
It's okay. Yeah. I'm only plugging it because it's Halloween right now. So, but yeah, Creatures in Canada.
Okay, Creatures in Canada. Amazon, not a sponsor.
Amazon, not a sponsor.
We'll put it in the if you want spooky stories by Mr. Bobby Strate.
Yeah. If you would like a scary story based in every province territory in Canada, you can find it in Creatures in Canada.
Yeah, it's always good to celebrate Canada as well, I think. So yeah, so you can find that in the link below. You can find me on Twitter at Daniel Prinn. I think I will be making a Twitter for the DCOM team this weekend. We will put our stuff there. I'm bad at Twitter, so I might not be so active on it. You can find me on Instagram at Daniel Prinn. I'm not so active on that. You can find one of our co-producers, Simon Watson, on Twitter at Extra Features PC. And that is at Extra Features PC. Because we're part of his podcast network at extrafeatures.ca. So you can find them there, where we will be posting on Spot. You can listen to us on Spotify as well as iHeartRadio. Not sure what dates those will go up, because I think Kevin Boyd handles that side of their project there, because they co-own that website. You can find this episode on my website, filmcraziest.com, and you can also find us right here on YouTube, because I will be posting the podcasts on my YouTube channel, Film Craziest, and you might be watching us here. And then, yes, if you prefer podcast version, you can listen to us again on Spotify or iHeartRadio when those will be posted. So we wish you a merry Halloween. And if you indulge in any DCOMs, tell us your favorites in the comments below, which I think is a good thing to plug to create a little bit of conversation in the comments.
100%.
Do you want to talk about something and I can cut you off again?
Well, I feel like last time we were trying to